What is up, YouTube? Welcome to the Prof Sales Channel, and tonight we have a really cool show. This is a special, series, you would say. And we're going to be talking about photos tonight. I am sorry about that. Such a noob. But we're going to be talking about our photo process tonight, and I'm joined by 3 other guests tonight. So let's get right to it. So I'm going to let the first guest introduce himself. Casey.
Hey everybody, I'm Casey, the Rockstar Flipper, as most of you guys know, and glad to be here. Glad to be here with the guys. Can't wait to talk about photos. And yeah, everybody knows me from eBay and YouTube.
My name is Chris, 10K on the Bay. I'm glad Jason invited me. I'm excited to talk about some different processes and looking forward to sharing some ideas.
Yeah, and I'm Luke from Endless Entrepreneurs, eBay seller primarily, and pretty pumped to dive into photos in a unique way we really haven't talked about before. So,
all right, so I'm just going to set up the night for you, and then we're going to get right into it. So what we're going to do, guys, we're each going to talk about our photo process very briefly, just a few minutes each, and then we're going to get into the more of the why we do things a certain way. And we're going to be talking about that and asking each other some questions as well. And then at the end, we're going to take questions from you guys. So if you have questions, hold on to them. I promise you we'll get to as many of them as we can. So why don't we start off with you, Casey, and you'll tell everybody a little bit about your photo process.
Absolutely, of course. So our photo process is mainly twofold. We use full body mannequins with a backdrop, a background. We will hang the backdrop on a wall with our mannequin standing up in front of it. We have male and female mannequins, so we will put all of our shirts, our tops, our jackets, all of those type of items that you would normally expect to hang on a mannequin in front of that. And then about 6 feet away from that mannequin, we have our Limo Studio light kit, which we will shine usually 2 of them at an angle. We don't shine directly on because you will get shadows. We always put them on left and right sides. So if you've ever looked at my eBay store, you'll see a lot of our photos done that way now. And we do about 6 to 8 feet with the lighting. That's about the right setup. And then we do all of our photos from an iPhone. We use iPhone 7s. I have a 7 Plus, so 7 for Kate. And that camera, that lens is beautiful for photos. And it makes it quick because we do all of our photos and listing right from the phone. For any items that we can't do on a mannequin, a lot of people refer to them as flatlays. That would be skirts or shorts or things that maybe kids' clothes that aren't big enough for our mannequins. We lay them on the same background that we hang up with, we've been using now. We lay them on the ground and the lights will be pointed down at them. And again, we still just stand above it and we take the photos using iPhones. So our process is twofold and it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Nice.
Awesome. So my process is fairly similar. Except for I exclusively do flat lays right now for clothing. I take it on a white background. It's 36 by 48. It's a board. I have the light shining not directly onto the item, but about 6 to 8 feet away, sort of like Casey described. And I'm taking 100% of my photos from iPhone 6 Plus. So I will upgrade to the 7, but right now I have some help from listers, and I've purchased iPhone 6 Pluses off of Craigslist with no cell phone service. So they're just using it sort of as a tablet with their Wi-Fi, but it has the better camera. I've since discovered you can also use an iPad Pro, but it's a little bit heavier. So iPad Pro does have a similar camera. I have measurement marks on the 36 by 48 board that are in pencil. So I don't need to use a ruler when I measure the items because I can just look at the check mark on the board and determine what the measurements are for the item without actually using a ruler, which is nice. So similar process. I do my photographs during my listing process. So I don't actually take my photos first and then enter them later. I build all the listings start to finish one at a time with my process and take the photos directly into the eBay app, which I might change, but that's my process right now.
Great. All right. Sounds awesome. Well, our photo process has been an evolution, as I suspect it is for a lot of resellers. currently, we have a Cowboy Studio light kit with 2 big soft boxes. One of them is actually kind of lighting this side of me right now. I don't have one on this side. But those allow you to change how many bulbs are on at one time, which can be beneficial when you want to change how much light is hitting your object. We do a lot of flat lays as well, because when we are photographing jeans, that is a lot quicker than putting jeans on a mannequin. It's also a little bit tricky sometimes when you're shooting a long vertical object from a little bit of a distance away to get the focus correct and the lighting correct. So we just found it easier to do a flat lay on basically a table that we actually purchased from Sam's, or Costco rather, that had kind of a whitish, beigey sort of background already on it, which is really nice. It provides a nice contrast to a lot of darker objects like jeans, and so on, or even shirts. We use iPhone 6s, and we found that the camera on those is amazing. You just get such clear photos. You can do so much with it. We've also tried to be really cognizant of taking photos that do not require editing, which we'll talk more about, and some obvious advantages to that, because you can obviously go faster. But Karin is my main photographer these days, and she's developed her own system of it. We tend to find that we photograph things in batches, as I suspect some of the other guys do as well, just because sort of when you get your mind set in that rut, you know, it's easier to kind of continue. It's like, oh, I'm doing a shirt, I'm doing a shirt, I'm doing a shirt, and then I'm doing a pants, you know. So we like the batch method form as well, and we'll get a little more in depth with the with that here in a moment. So, and we find that using Apple products, as I list on a Mac and we use iPhones, is beneficial, because dropping those photos or creating a shared folder generates some efficiencies that can really help you, be faster. And when you don't have to change equipment or technology and dropping photos to here or there. So we found that to be beneficial for us. And I think, that's kind of user dependent, depends on what your technology is. So that's our process in a nutshell.
All right, I guess I'm bringing up the rear here, and hopefully won't cover too much overlap. But my photo process really starts before I even start taking photos, and it comes when sorting. And I know that each of them touched on it a little bit, but a lot of the efficiency I gain in my process is from sorting like items. So pants versus dress pants versus jeans even. I try to get them sorted by brand if possible too, so that later on in the listing process, they're all one after the other, because I like to sell similar. So I spend a lot more time upfront preparing kind of my workstation with what I'm going to attack for that hour. And that's really kind of what launches my photo process. I use a Canon, it's a PowerShot, and I don't know the exact model. It's an older camera, and it's probably one of the weaker parts of my photography game. And I will be looking to, hopefully step that equipment up a little bit soon, because I feel like all these three, even just using your iPhones, you're way far ahead of me. Although I do have a hard time focusing the iPhone occasionally with certain colors. So I don't know, this seems to work for me. I have a it's a vinyl backdrop, not canvas. It's a vinyl cheap one I ordered from overseas for like $10. It's like a bluish brown wood grain. I think it differentiates me from other sellers. I really like having that different background. And honestly, for me too, it helps me track historically my old listings versus my new listings. So when I'm evaluating whether they take an offer or not, those backgrounds, believe it or not, are kind of marks in the ground and differentiators. So I have that set, and it's just like one of those standing pole, like framed backdrops that you just kind of clip it to. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive. I think I got like $20 on eBay. I use 2 umbrella lights, similar to Casey, what he talked about. Just try to get the cross lighting on them, nothing fancy. Again, just a cheaper lighter kit that I could afford. I've had it for a really long time. Probably could upgrade a little bit now, but that's what I'm using currently. I do use a form mannequin. It's not a full body one. I actually just use it for all my shirts and blazers. And so I think it's a large, like a men's large, but again, I bought it so long ago, I honestly couldn't tell you the exact size. But everything but small shirts seems to fit on it, small and extra small. The mannequin is broke, which I think is an advantage to me, and I've talked about this before. It actually freely spins, when I say spin, I mean like a merry-go-round, like fast. And it's propped up on like a table because it's so short and fell down. So it actually is like perfect height for me to spin. So I think I gain a little bit of efficiency there. And yeah, you know, my photo process, I hang pants, and I try to limit to like 5 or 6 pictures, just kind of flipping the item. Shirts and blazers, I usually do, well, shirts I do 5 or 6, and blazers I do all 12. So definitely varies in time depending on the item type, you know, how many photos I'm taking. And I do, so this is where I differ, I think, from all 3 of them, is I do not draft from my phone, and I do not draft using like an iCloud or any type of thing to get pictures. I'm like old school. I use an SD card, I pop it out of the camera, I plug it in my computer, and I put it in the folders that I assign. I have to elaborate a little bit, and I'm sure we'll go into it later, but I list while I'm on the go a lot, and I squeeze in things because I work full time. And so having the photos on my computer with the descriptions, I can list anywhere I want. I'm not held to anything I have to do here in the room while staging. So I can list while like I'm traveling to Cincinnati tomorrow, I can list the whole time out there. So that's just kind of one of the things. And I think I mean, I'll argue that it's faster for me, but we'll see. So that's my photo process in a nutshell. Hopefully it makes sense. It's, you know, pretty straightforward, similar to these guys, but different in a little bit.
All right, so I think we're going to go in a little more in depth here. So, Casey, I think you're first up. We're kind of going in alphabetical order, and you can definitely expand on your photo process from what you said. And that was a pretty good description. But I was curious, you know, just in general, and maybe some other guys will have some questions too. Is, you know, you obviously do a lot of volume. You turn a lot of volume. What sort of best practices have you found that have helped you to be able to get out the amount of photos you need to get out each week, just in terms of the sheer volume and so on, to get those items listed?
And that's an awesome question. I actually get this question once in a while. And this works for both people that are doing volume like me and those of you that may not do as many. It's kind of a mental thing that we had to do. Let's say that I'm sitting down to do 40 listings today. 40 listings is overwhelming. To take we're talking 8 pictures per, that's 320 photos. You can't sit down and just do 3 or 4 or 500 of anything. You have to batch it up, like you guys have said. So we will take items, and you try to get the items that are similar, or you know, where you can use. We're going to use all these items on the women's mannequin. So we're going to take the 10 women's shirts that we have, or maybe the 8 women's shirts and the 2 women's blazers, and you're going to take those 10 items and do those 60 or 80 photos. That way, when you're done with that set, you feel a sense of accomplishment that you have finished all those photos. And then you can go and draft your drafts, or if you do it in reverse, like Chris does, you can draft them up and then go take your 60 or 80 photos, finish those items. I don't, you know, for somebody to sit down and do 600 or 800 like I do, or even if somebody that works on a smaller scale just breaks up what they're doing, I think those small achievements in photographing or listing kind of keeps you inspired during the day. It gives you like wins during the day, like mini wins. We call them mini wins. And Terry says my answer is Katie. That's not fair. Yeah, but that's my answer for how to make the, because I know a lot of people, I don't mind photographs, but a lot of people are not photograph fans. They just don't like it. So if you break it into mini accomplishments throughout the day, 40 photos, do your listings, move on to something different, then come back and do 40 more, you know, do each in sets. That's my advice for that, and how we go about it.
I have a quick question for Casey.
Yes.
When you take photos, is it different than when Kate takes photos?
Absolutely. You can almost go through our store and tell whose listing is whose. Almost for sure. She's a professional photographer by trade, and not only you can see shadows sometimes in my photos, you can see like, you know, little pinky fingers hanging in or whatever. No, her photos are tenfold better than mine, so you can almost pick hers out for sure.
Hey, I got a question for Chris here, just pivoting a little bit. So you talked about the pencil marks and kind of framing up your item on, you know, the backdrop there for it. But when you take your pictures, do you crop or edit later or have to do anything to them? Or is that setup allow you to perfectly take your picture each time and not have to do anything to it after the fact?
So right now, because the iPhone does not allow you to take a square picture inside of the eBay app, I crop the first picture. So I'm shifting to the first picture being the whole item. So I'll take the picture in the iPhone version and then crop it to as square as I can. And the other 3 I don't edit at all. And those will have, unfortunately, gray space or white space on the sides of those photos. But that's only for the initial photo. And the reason why I do that is I'm trying to only touch the item one time. So when it's going from sorting to photographed, and then while the photos are uploading onto eBay, which takes a few seconds, that's when my listers are packaging that into the shipping parcel to be shipped. So ideally, that's the reason why I do it that way, even though the photos are definitely going to be less quality than doing them beforehand and uploading.
And I mean, Kate, and so kind of to follow on that, Casey, I mean, you guys are doing from phones. What do you guys do about that? Do you crop and edit, or are you able to take them in a way that they don't, or how does that work?
Yeah, I know Kate does some of the lighting edits with the click and drag on the iPhone. It has an option to edit the kind of like a filter later on. I think she has a filter that she just one click uses now. The thing that we have, and this is where and this is new to me, I like hearing what Chris just said about the measurements and everything. We have to go back and measure. So when we're done taking the pictures, like my neckties are a good example. I put the picture of the necktie on the tape measure in the photograph. So that's something that adds time to us, which I really like Chris's idea of having something set up. That's an awesome idea. Because otherwise, every time I take my pictures of my ties and then I got to lay it down, stretch the tape measure out, retake the picture. So that would definitely save us some time, no doubt about it. That's cool.
And Jason, I mean, you use phones too, right? Or iPads, or you use Apple devices. Do you deal with having to crop the gray out?
We used to use the iPad. We only use the phone now. We shoot everything in a square. Because one of the things we haven't talked about right now, guys, too much is, it's necessary to have your photos as optimized for mobile viewing as possible, since a majority of eBay shoppers are mobile shoppers now. And if your photos don't look good on a mobile device, you hurt yourself. So we've played around with it. We even tried a DSLR for a while. Nothing against it. It just at that time didn't make sense for us in a different setup, like where we have our space limits that a little bit. So we've kind of been, it's kind of been a necessity to use the iPhone, which, by the way, takes amazing photos. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. But Luke, I was going to ask you something too. I know you do a lot of dress shirts and so on, and blazers and sport coats and so on. And I know that recently you've been sourcing jeans here in the Charlotte area.
Sure have. Thanks.
And, but I was gonna ask you about measurements, because one of the things I've gone back and forth with in my listing is, do you take photos of measurements, and if so, what measurements are they that you would take, or do you list those separately of jeans?
Right. So and I think I'm very unique compared to you three, which is very interesting hearing. I mean, we've talked all the time, but it's interesting hearing the intricacies of your process, because I don't think we dive into it like this normally. So when I have my items, I put them on a mannequin. So there's not really a possibility to do measurements in my photos, right? And so I batch, I'm throwing them on the mannequin, one after the other, gone. 6 photos, just throwing it in a pile, 6 photos in a pile. And then I sit down or stand, because I bought the standing desk, and that's when I do my measurements and descriptions. And the thing is people say, why don't you put a tape on your desk, whatever. Well, when I'm using the measuring tape, in my head, I'm writing the description of the item, right? So I'm measuring and I'm looking at the tag, the material, the color, while I'm measuring, doing it all at once. So I'm really, by the time I'm done with my 3 measurements, I'm already ready to write my whole listing, and it's done. And then it's packaged up in my poly bag and goes into storage with its inventory number. So, I would argue that I don't have many more touches of the item than anyone else. It's just done in a different sequence. I do think if you do flat lay, I think it only makes sense to try to find a way to incorporate the measuring tape into it. I think you gain a lot of efficiency. Just the tie example was perfect. You gain a ton of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't, to answer your question, no.
Okay.
I agree with them on that, is because most of ours are mannequins. Our flat lays, like I said, with the ties, but when we're on the mannequin and Kate is taking photos of her 10, she'll sit down with the 10 items right next to her, and as she goes one after another, she's just pulling the measuring out and measuring it, listing, measure, listing, measure, listing. So I'm with him. There's no extra touching, because she's still got to make the listing. So she's only measuring it one time. That's it.
And I would say too, if you're flat laying, you're having to reposition the item every single photo to get your measurement you want. I never touch the item to reposition it for the whole photo process. It goes on, and it's literally a spin while the camera's in my hand. So it's like spin, snap, spin, snap, spin, snap. So I don't have the repositioning that goes into that. I have it on the after end while I'm doing descriptions and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys how many photos you take? I'm trying to condense my process into 4, even though they say more photos is going to increase my visibility and they rank higher. I'm going to try to make most of my items only 4 photos. What do you guys think?
Casey, take the first crack.
Oh yeah, I guess I'm first in the line. So I've gotten a lot of messages lately about maxing out photos to 12. Based on my average, we do 6. We tried doing some at 12. It does take significantly more time. Like, it is literally over the course of a day a lot of time to max out photos. I don't believe that maxing out photos, in my opinion and in my research, has shown a large increase in views or potential buyers. And I believe if your main photo is good enough, that you will draw in those buyers with your keywords in your main photo, as opposed to having 12 more photos. And when I buy an item on eBay, I can typically tell as a personal shopper in the first couple of photos whether I'm interested in that item or not. There's very few times where I need to see a certain angle or a certain level or a certain up and down that I need to scroll through to 11 more photos to see what I need to see. That's just my opinion. People have said it messes with the search algorithm, but I haven't been able to prove that. I've done ones with 12 and I didn't see them any higher. So I don't have any evidence showing that. Maybe somebody else does.
Okay, I think it's me. We currently, if it's a jeans item, we're usually only taking 5, and you could argue we could take 4. If there's a defect or something special about the item, we'll actually add in another shot. I'm kind of with Casey here. Like, I don't know that there's a magic number. And we weigh off this whole, thoroughness versus efficiency argument all the time. What's enough to get the item sold? And you can argue too, do photos fetch a higher price for an item? Do they get it seen more so it will sell or be seen by more people and theoretically sell in a quicker time frame? And to Casey's point, I don't know that we really know the exact answer to that. But I do think it's important when you're selling clothing to know that there are certain expectations that a majority of buyers who are looking at your item have. For instance, if you're selling a button-up T-shirt, like Luke sells a lot of shirts, you're probably going to want to show if there's a button missing. You're probably going to show that it's pearl snaps if it's that type of button-up, versus not. I mean, it doesn't make sense to leave that out. Do you need to shoot the back of the shirt, which is exactly like the front of the shirt? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe just to show there's no defects. I mean, there's different reasons for photos. We shoot the tag shot in a lot of things simply because it allows me to very quickly answer a question about an item without having to go physically look at the item. Because I can look at the tag, and even though you've got it in the listing, people don't see it or they don't scroll to it or whatever. So we're really around that 5 range for a lot of pants and so on. Shirts or dresses or things like that, they actually get another photo or 2. And Karin, if it's got, she will go crazy on like a dress or something. She'll put up like 8 or 10 photos. And I'm like, why are you taking so long? But a lot of times the dress has a lot of things going on that you have to take a photo of to see. But 5 is our average.
And I'm going to be real specific with this, Chris, because I think it varies a lot for me. And the first thing that it varies on is the cost or what I'm trying to sell the item for. And I do believe that there's a lot of intrinsic value to presentation. I think one of the things retail has proven that it's good at is presenting a higher value than the item's really worth. So when you get into high-end clothing, and actually Ronnie at Hearts Picker is probably the perfect example, right? He's selling high-end stuff, his presentation's excellent, and he commands a huge average sale price for it. Now his is probably an outlier because I don't know how to get the prices he gets, but at the same time, I think the more photos you have for a higher price item, the better. My basic bread and butter stuff, I'm doing 5, right? Maybe 6 for a dress shirt. And I'm making sure I get the cuff because you want the cuff style. I think, and Jason hit on that perfect. Like when you're trying to portray the style in the picture because they might not read the style, then it warrants an extra picture. Jeans, the same thing, 6. Blazers and suits, I do 12. And the reason for it is that I think a suit or blazer buyer is looking for a lot of specific things on it. They're looking for where it fits, how it fits in a bunch of different places. They're looking for how it falls. Does it fall wide off the mannequin, right? They're looking for all those things, especially if it's like a fitted type suit. They're looking at the vents, the buttons on the blazer, not just on the front, but on the cuffs. The lining, is it fully lined or partial? So there's just so many more parts to it that I think it needs 12. And you're asking $50, $100, $150 for suits and blazers. A couple extra pictures I think helps tremendously. So, but yeah, my average for non-suit and blazers is probably 5.5, 6, and 12 every time for the rest. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but there it is.
No, it was good. Let's see who's up now. I'm not even sure. We got out of order there at some point.
Yeah, so I have a question actually for Casey. So you said you use a full mannequin, so like legs and body.
Yeah, well, I guess you could call them like a 3/4. They do. They have I don't have any I can show you, but well, as opposed to this, I have one here. This used to be our old mannequin, and this is the table. We call this like the tabletop mannequin. It's got no legs.
So that's
so this was the old one. So the new one that we have, the new ones, they have like here, like 3/4. They have the legs that go down, but they can't stand on. Yeah, the waist and a little bit lower. They can't stand on their own. They can stand on a tabletop, because if you put them on the floor, they're too short. So we have a little like a lighted table that's a little 36-inch table that it stands on. So the legs, we have sets of legs, but we don't do enough pants and jeans. We do a little bit, but not enough that I went out and just dedicated something to that. So we do flat lays for all of our pants.
So okay, that was my real question. Was are you actually utilizing the extra space in the mannequin? Because I was going to kind of go right back to Jason and be like, do you think there's efficiency for you there or not? And I mean, no. I guess you guys think there's efficiency in doing that? I mean,
I don't think there is for pants, because taking them on and off of a mannequin is a lot of work. It takes a lot more time than throwing a shirt over. Right. Trying to pull up a pair of pants on a mannequin is not the most conducive thing to time management. That is something I will suck it up. And most people know I'm not a big fan of flat lays. I just never have been. But for that, I will do flat lays all day.
And then I have another question. I'm just gonna keep finding them because they're popping in my head. Jason, when Corinne takes pictures, and this is, I don't know why I haven't asked this at this point, but when she takes pictures, how do you know what order the pictures go with the item? Because I mean, sometimes she does them like way far apart from when you list them, right? So how does that work? Like, how does that process work for you?
That's a great question, and that's something we've been tackling for hiring a lister as well. And basically what we've come up with over time is just really simple. It probably sounds a little bit complicated, but it's really not. She will take a photograph at the beginning of a set of photos, and she will take a photo like, we've done it different ways, but it'll say like, 197. This is batch number 197. And she'll list a bunch of photos of the first item, and then she'll take an in-between shot. And that in-between shot will be something that's not closed. Like she'll take just the blank white table. She'll take, I like to take a shot of the trash can, because I'm like, I know I'm not selling a trash can. So I know there's no way that goes with anything. And then she'll take the next set of photos of the next item, and the next and the next. And then when she gets to the end, she'll put like another number there at the end and take a shot of that again, 197. So now when she drops those photos to me, we use the sharing folder with all the iPhone products and so on, and Mac and so on. And she will drop it, and I will know, and she'll put like a piece of paper on top that says, hey, this is batch number 197. So there will never be another 197. So I know that when I go in and I pull that first sheet off and I see that number, it's like, all right, I got to look in my shared folder for batch number 197, and these are the photos. And we just keep them in reverse order. Like she'll do one, flip it over, flip it over, flip it over, flip it back right side, and then I've got the first one at the top. So it's works great. It's really simple.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Hey, guys, just a quick programming note. It's halfway through the show, and we have almost 200 viewers. We're 199, so close. So tell your friends, hit the like button if you're enjoying the content, and also be sure you check out 10K on the Bay, Rockstar Flipper, and Endless Entrepreneurs. Chris, Casey, and Luke, man, I got all that right, because their channels are here in the description of this video. So if you are not already subscribed, you haven't checked out their content, or you don't know these guys, I don't know where you've been for the last year, but if it's not too late to make up for it, so go check out their channels and subscribe. And they've got all kinds of great content, and we all four approach this differently. but we have some similarities too, which I think is so amazing. And that's why it's good to have, different sources of information so you can learn something different from everyone. So thank you guys.
I agree. And I am as excited to be here as I hope the viewers are, because I am like, I got a notepad. Everybody knows I'm Mr. Notepad. I keep a notepad. Like I write things down, and I'm learning a lot from these three. So if you don't have a notepad, please get a notepad and write down stuff, because I'm telling you, you're gonna, or put this video in your bookmark and future videos and come back and watch them. Because if I can learn from these guys and they learn from us and vice versa, you all out there in the chat can learn a lot. It's gonna be valuable. So
absolutely.
So we got about 9 or more minutes, guys, and then we're gonna open up to your questions. So hang on to them. It's coming, I promise. So all right, so who's up next?
I might be. Is it me?
it's yeah. I think it's Chris.
We're good.
So I'm gonna throw a question out for you guys. We sell a lot of similar items. So I have started actually as my last photo. I'm putting my location tag in the picture, just as a secondary security measure, in case so I don't mix up the item. It's like an extra security measure. And I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on this, because in the unlikely event you lose one pair or one shirt, how do you find an item? Because I know, and not that any of you have ever lost an item before, but
Good one.
Who wants to go first? Casey?
Here we go again. I'm changing my name for the next show, because we decided to answer these. We decided to answer these questions in alphabetical. So I have gotten the. We're gonna go by YouTube names from now on. I think that puts me at the end. Yeah, our items are, and I know I get a lot of flack for this, but our items are located only using one of the two normal ways that people do it. So I know a lot of people have like a bin location and then an item number. It might be bin A, item 101 or 102 or 103. Our items are simply by the bin. Literally, that's it. It's in the bin, and there's only 20 to 25 items in the bin. The only time that we do it differently is like neckties, because they can be so similar. So those we do a little different. But like our shirts, if they're in bin A and you sell a blue Torrid, cutback shirt, in bin A, the chances that there's not going to be two blue Torrid cutback shirts. Now, if you're selling a ton of items that are like very close, like, Luke might have a ton of dress shirts that are striped and stuff. He probably has to do it a little differently. I sell such an eclectic mix of items that I never have anything that are remotely close to each other. Even when I get like polos. Today is a perfect example. I bought 5 girls Abercrombie polos. I paid like $1 a piece for them. There's like a pink one, a blue one, a red one, a green one, and a white one. And they might be similar, but they're all going to go in one bin, and we're going to know what that item is. And that's it's just easiest for us. We don't have to have a million numbers running through inventory. It's in bin A, or it's in bin Z, or it's in bin A1 or B1 or C1. For me, that's just easiest. And for those of you that know, and if anybody has an answer to this, all of our bin numbers or letters are in our titles. I would like to stop that. Putting it in the photo is a good idea, Chris. However, I need a way to see it when I print the label. And putting it in the SKU line is not working. So I considered putting it in the photo, but I don't know how I would see that without taking that extra step to go into the listing and opening the photo. So if anybody does have an answer for that, please put it in the chat. But photo locations is a good idea if you have problems keeping track. That's an awesome idea to shore up what item it was, because none of us ever lose items. The answer is we just don't lose items. That's it.
Right. Yeah. We got a bridge in Brooklyn we'll sell you too. I have done that system before of taking a photograph of I use two things. I use a SKU number and then the bin location. So the extra step, but I sell a lot of jeans, and jeans all look the same. So you can't put 30 of those in a bin because they all look the same. So you'd literally look through every one every time you want to find one. I don't think it's a bad idea, Chris. I think though, but to Casey has kind of hit the nail on the head that to be able to find the item, I mean, really the only point of an inventory system is to be able to keep track of an item. If it doesn't do anything else, it's got to do that. And so when you sell that item, you've got to have a way to go find the said item so you can pack it up and ship it, right? It's just all common sense stuff. I don't know how you pull that photo out easily to find that item. It does keep it tracked there close by, but I tell you what I do, and we're kind of getting off on another subject here, but just the fact that I'll put 2 or 3 items together that are shot and listed the same day will be in the same bin location usually. Like, all right, I got 4 spots open in this location, and today I'm listing, so I'm going to put these 4 things there. So if one kind of does get off or I couldn't find it, which has happened a couple times, or I struggle to find it, chances are it's around one of those other ones because I can see those 4 were done at the exact same time. So it's kind of, all right, I know that's the place I need to probably look. So kind of having that redundancy built in to like different ways to find an item, I think helps you a lot with that problem of, you know, not losing it. But man, that extra photo and then having to go in and look at it, I don't know how I'd make it work in my case. It might work for a different setup, but in mine, it really wouldn't be effective, I don't think.
So quick answer for me is no, I don't. But to your point, Chris, I think it makes a lot of sense if you're going to move to the 3 or 4 photo model, and if you're able to incorporate all your measurements into your photos. Because effectively, if you can do that, by the 4th photo, the whole item is prepped. And all you're doing is typing a description. And so it's already there and it's one less step. So I can see a lot of merit to, as you condense your process, that being a really, really good way to streamline. I currently don't. The reason being is I do a lot of the same items together, and that I use the mannequin. I just haven't figured out a way with the mannequin to get things in the pictures, you know, measurements, those ideas. I just haven't figured out a good way yet. And maybe as I streamline my process and grow, I might get away from the mannequin. I don't know. I think we're going to find out a lot as we go these next couple of weeks and researching this, which way we want. Well, I want to go personally. And before we only have 2 minutes left, and I'm going to plug a little sneak peek for everyone, if you guys are okay with it, kind of what we have on the horizon here. So the reason we kind of level set here and went through our processes is all 4 of us are kind of committed to figuring out the best efficient process for our business and how to keep growing. And we don't want to stay where we're at. And so to do that, we need to keep maximizing our time because time is the enemy. And we're trying to figure out which method is best or which combination of methods is best for what we're doing. And each business model is different, but we want to start tracking. And so we're actually going to start tracking our photos, timing, the efficiency of it over this next week. And we're going to start analyzing each of the steps, and we're going to start bringing some pretty unique content to you guys over the next couple of weeks, showing what we're tracking and how we're, you know, analyzing it and what we think and just kind of what we're finding out, because we're all learning at the same time. I know we've talked about it a lot. We're all learning from each other and from our processes, and hopefully you guys are learning and we're learning from you guys. I know that too. So that's just my little plug about where we're heading and what you guys can expect in coming weeks.
That's great. I think we are pretty much right there at that 20-minute mark, about 21 minutes to go, guys. So we're going to try to keep the show to right in an hour, and it's question time. And I know some of you have been typing questions, and we've answered some of them in the chat field. But to Luke's point, we are on a learning process just like you guys are, and we're trying to learn from each other and share that with you guys. And hopefully between all of that, we can all get a little bit better at this process of photographs. So right now, please type the word question or just, 3 or 4 question marks in front of your question, just so we can kind of pull it out. Can't promise you're going to answer all of them. If you can obviously ask any question you want, but if they're photograph oriented, we're going to try to answer those mainly tonight, since that is the focus of the show. Not saying we won't answer anything else, but we really want to focus on the photographs and so on. So, just send those questions in the chat room right now, and we will get to them the best we can. I'm going to try to pull some of them out.
I've got one that I saw in the very beginning, Jason.
Can we take the first question that's not for Casey?
Yes.
No. And I see one right away, and this will open up a bigger question. I'm just going to jump on it. Rags just talked about taking turquoise photographs of turquoise items, and they turn green or blue. Question I've gotten several times with weird colored items. How do you? Let's start with Jason here on this one. Just because I like to nominate you. How do you combat the color situation with weird colors or off colors and lighting?
Well, I can't speak to first of all, disclaimer, I am not a lighting expert, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. I I definitely have still learned that process like anything else. And lighting and getting it to come out the right color is very, very tricky. But what I've learned with the iPhone, and I think Karin would back me up on this, and I can't speak to DSLRs, they're all a little different. But with the iPhone, I know this sounds crazy, guys, but if you change the height that this camera takes a shot of, the color will sometimes change. It's just as simple as that. And if you've got a funky color in there and the camera is smarter than you are 99.9% of the time. So if it's tried to figure out the color and it's just not getting it right, I will like take it over here to the side and have it focus on something completely different. Now bring it back to your shot. And normally, if for me at least, when the color is off, taking the camera higher tends to work. It makes that color truer to what I see the color as. So if it was a turquoise green, I would try that. But you know, when I do listings, I try to stay away from like words like turquoise because you know everybody's going to see that a little differently. I even just will put, you know, colored in the item specifics. Like that's a choice for like denim. A lot of times, you know, washes, it'll say colored is a choice. I'm like, it's colored. You want, because people will ask, is that blue or is that black? And I'm like, you tell me, man, you know, I don't know. But if you hold that camera at a different height, a lot of times that color will fix itself on an iPhone.
I struggle the same with that. There's another question that kind of piggybacks on that, and I actually struggle a lot with it. So I'm not gonna let myself off the hook there. But I'm gonna let Chris answer this because it's always sunny in California, and so you get this one. So Thomas asked a question very early in the chat, and I thought it was a good one. He said, none of you use natural light. Do any of you use natural light? And so, Chris, I guess what experiences do you have with it? I know that none of us use that primarily, but what is your experiences with it? And, you know, it's always sunny out there, so.
Natural light is doable in California, especially if you have an open room, and it is much better than professional lighting, in my opinion, for getting a true color. But you can only do it during the day, so the downside is that you need to adjust your camera. Like Jason said, depending on the height of your camera, it changes the color. And I am supposed to order a box of crayons so I can put the matching color next to the item so that I can match it. I just had a return for an item that the person said it was coral instead of orange. And I had to accept the return. eBay forced me to take the return. And again, we're not responsible for people's monitors also being different. So if you can avoid being too descriptive, I mean, that's very rare to have orange and coral be confused, but I want to try the crayon thing because I think that's really going to help with, you know, awkward colors if it's not, you know, obviously white or blue. The floral colors, I think I have the most difficulty getting the exact color. But natural light, I do think is better, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'll jump in. Obviously, my fiance has the photography background, and she would kill for the natural lighting. She actually takes photos by our sliding glass doors, and I have come in and she's had them just thrown all the way open, letting the light pour in, and she prefers those pictures over the lighting kit. Of course, you know, when you start getting weird Florida sunlight, it starts getting crazy. Our sun, I don't know about out in sunny California, but our sun gets super glowy, so it's not as easy to get those natural lights. But yeah, if you can get it and you can harness it, the photos are, she showed me side by side, natural and those. It's amazing. The difference is crazy.
Hey, there are a couple more questions that came in. Chris, the second one I'm gonna throw to you because I know you have a lot of experience with this particular type of product. When you photo shoes, do you picture one shoe at a time or both? And I guess what's the advantage or disadvantage to those methods?
That's a great question.
On used shoes, I will take all 12 photos because of how much stuff there is to cover. So I always do both shoes. The only time I'll take a picture of just one shoe is if there's a specific defect. Otherwise, I will just rotate the shoe, do the bottom and the top. I'll take a picture of the label inside. Shoes are a little bit more picky, so I definitely take the time to take all 12 photos. That's the only item where I'll use all the photos. And I do too, unless there's a defect on one specific shoe.
What about you guys? You guys have any experience with shoes?
I don't sell many shoes. I've sold a few pairs, women's heels and stuff. And Kate does kind of like she does both, where she'll turn one sideways and one pointed front and back. and then she'll spin them around. I'm with Chris. We had a pair that had a defect. We had some J-Lo heels that were missing a couple gemstones around the side, and she took that as a specific photo individually because it had a defect. But other than that, yeah, she did them both at the same time.
Okay.
I want to answer quality or quantity first. Can I jump on that one?
Yeah.
Both. We're both trying. We're always trying to get more quantity and more quality. So that's like a never-ending battle for us. I think we both want. I mean, all of us want both. There's no end to that.
Yeah. For me, and I always try to think of just like simple economics, right? Like if I could have more photos and have quality in all of them and be efficient, I would pick that. But it's the classic, there's a kind of that seesaw. And so when your sales maximize with the right quantity and quality, that's what we're striving towards. And it's definitely a theme in the chat with questions. And I think that's what we're trying to work towards, guys, is over the next couple of weeks and tracking our specific metrics that drive the photography process and documenting, getting to that perfect balance. And we'll never get to the perfect balance, but if we're not striving to get better at it, we're just going to get stagnant. So, and I think your model, we haven't really touched on this, and I think this will be definitely future weeks, but your model dictates what you're leaning towards too, right? Like if you're churning out a lot of items, you can get away with fewer photos because you're looking for a middle of the road price and it's more of a commodity base. So.
Yeah, and I with my volume, I go with that, and I used to be a hardcore just list, and it works, but I also see the upside of trying to maximize even that volume. So we're improving my backgrounds and my flat lays and the quality of everything. So I am trying to not slack on that. There's a lot of good things you can get out of not slacking on the quality. Absolutely.
Yeah. Luke said it great a few weeks ago when he said, you want to maximize the amount of listings you can get up with the maximum amount of profitability in as short a time as possible. And I'm paraphrasing what he said. But I keep thinking about that. I was like, man, that's it. I mean, that really is it for everybody. And that might be 50 listings. It might be 1,000 listings. Doesn't matter. But if you just think about it in those terms, it's just, you'll nail it.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's amazing to you guys, like what you can do to increase your photography quality without adding any extra time to your process. I mean, Casey just highlighted two things right there, right? With the backdrop and kind of the setup of the picture. It's not really taking any extra time from what they already were doing, but it makes it look so much better. For me, my crappy power Canon, or Power Shot, whatever the heck it's called. I don't know cameras very well, but it's like 3 years old. If I upgraded my camera instantly, right? It didn't take me any extra time. I didn't get fewer listings up or anything, but it increases the quality. So I think you need to look for those little hacks where you can increase the quality without increasing your time.
Yep. So that was a hack. Speaking of a hack, and somebody just mentioned it in chat, and this is something that I probably brought into the community recently, collage photos for a main photo. Yeah, so this is the one thing I didn't touch on. I kind of waited. I was waiting to see if someone would bring it up. But we are not spending any more time, at best 15 seconds. So basically what we're doing is taking our photos as usual. If you are somebody that takes your photos directly inside of the eBay app, you can still do this. And what you'll do is to take your photos, like 5, 6 photos, whatever it is you normally would, double tap and open a Collage app. There are many of them. The one we use is called Photo R Us, F-O-T-O R Us, like Toys R Us, but Photo R Us. And then you can take the photos that you've taken of your item and select 3 or 4 of them. It creates a collage that saves to your camera roll. And you can double click, go back into the eBay app, and that's literally a matter of seconds. Double click, collage, double click back, and insert that collage photo as your main photo. And it's super good for things that have like back pieces, like a sexy dress with a front and a back, or maybe you have shoes. And anyways, we're using collage photos as our main photo now, and our sales have taken off. And it is absolutely allowed by eBay. I talked to my guys at the eBay employees that I know. They said they talked to someone that should be fine. I haven't had a problem. And every collage item that Kate is editing the photos on is selling. It is selling, selling, selling.
Let me ask you something like Casey, because I've been wondering about this. How does that main photo, and with what you were talking about, like using that collage setup for, like, makes a total sense. Like you got a backless dress. I mean, that totally makes sense. But what does that collage photo look like on mobile devices? Because I'm worried it would look really small and be hard to pick out much detail. Or is it just because of what you're selling? you know, it's not really going to matter because people are going to they're going to look for all the detail anyway on the particular types of items you're selling and using that process. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I did, before we started implementing this, it's a great question. We did the research by editing a few and then pretending that we were a shopper on eBay and knowing what the item was, we would search for it to get it to pop up in the search results and scroll down and see it. It is slightly smaller, but in comparison to a normal picture, it's not noticeably smaller. And I believe from the amount of views we're getting on the items, it is enticing potential buyers to click the item and open it to see what that's all about. If you are selling a J. Crew sweater and you do a collage and you go to eBay as, you know, somebody else shopping and you search J. Crew sweaters and you're scrolling through those 50 sweaters that are for sale, your collage item jumps out every time. And all the collage items we've edited, obviously we have 2,300 listings. We haven't got through them all yet. We just started last week, but the 100 that we have gotten through, all their views have gone through the roof, and 50% of them have sold. It's working. And it could be luck, but I think that the views are proving that it's at least getting people to open the item. And I was trying to pull one up on mobile, and I mean, it's going to be tough to see, but that's what it looks like on mobile. That's just a two picture collage right there. So it looks really good, and it looks good in the search results. It's not much different. So.
Gotcha. All right.
Did we lose Luke for a second?
Yeah, I had a little technical difficulties. That's my bad.
Looks like I don't like that answer. I'm out of here. We had a few more questions coming in. There's been a ton of photo questions, which is awesome.
Yeah, pull some. Somebody, this isn't photo related, but Luke, somebody wants your autograph. They said you look like Aaron Rodgers.
Is Shannon in the chat? Because I feel like it'd be her saying that. No, she's on an airplane right now. I don't think it'll be her.
Terry Berry says better than Aaron Rodgers. So.
Yeah, Terry said you look better than Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
Oh, awesome! Upgrading.
Hey, we had one, guys, about I don't think, do we answer this one about getting the color right in a photo or consistent from each photo to photo?
Yeah, you did. I think that when you did your explanation on like the angles or the height, we should have included that consistency. Yeah. As long as the color is the same in every photo. That actually has been a question I got. It's been a while, but somebody said your photo looks like two different colors between two photos. So make it consistent. That's probably the important thing. If it looks turquoise in one, make it turquoise in all of them.
And I get knocked pretty hard on some of my photos are dark, but it's because I lock the color into it, right? So like I lock it from each photo. Go ahead, Chris. I'll let you.
Just letting you guys know, thanks for having me. I got to bow out a little bit early because of a previous engagement, but thanks for having me. I'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, Chris. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, man. And what Chris really means is he brings so much value that he's wanted in two places at once. So we're happy to share him.
I guess that's what happens when you get celeb status, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Those California guys, they're another level from us.
Yeah. But yeah, I get knocked on my photos, just pivoting back to that a little bit, because I lock. So my Canon lets me lock the shade in, so I can actually hold the color true for all of my photos, but it makes them darker sometimes. So although it's consistent, it's not always true. I struggle with purple really, really bad and bright pink for some reason. All the other colors I seem to be fine. Like bright pink, it makes it look like a dark fuchsia almost.
Really?
Yeah, and a purple ends up like a normal purple ends up like a really, really dark, deep purple because I lock the color in to keep it consistent. I think it's my background too.
Daniel's asking what lock the color in mean. What are you talking about?
So you can do it on an iPhone. You can do it on your point and shoot. But basically, you lightly hold the trigger button down without taking the picture, and usually, like mine will beep and it tells you that it's locked, and then that picture will hold that color. So I hold it the same distance away and lock it before each photo, so it stays the same with each turn. On the iPhone, you can actually, I think you tap and hold once you have the shade you want. Hold it for like 3 or 4 seconds, and it locks, and then the rest of the photos you take are in there. But you do lose some of the quality, like the pixelization of it. It can be a little grainier, not as detailed when you lock it in.
Nice. Got it. You guys feel about a backdrop? Someone asked about that: rug, mannequin, or white background.
Oh,
Nice shag rug.
Yeah.
you guys feel free, jump in. I'll answer last.
Okay, so I'm gonna this is my I'm gonna be the good cop, bad cop, and I'm gonna be the bad cop here. Flat lays with rugs, carpets, all that kind of furry stuff has become really popular now, and I don't know where it began or how, but I'm not a fan. I'm not. I don't believe it looks like something you would open a magazine and see. I don't believe it looks like something you'd go in a store or a boutique and see. I believe in mannequins. It's why I'm not a flat lay fan. I'm not against flat lays. A lot of people do flat lays and they sell a lot of merchandise. Just not for me. If it's for you, awesome. But when you look at big stores like BHFO or Swapcom Inc., they use plain white mannequins with plain white, like photo studio light, full-size light box lighting pictures, and that's it. These are stores with 150,000 listings, 250,000 listings. They're doing it professionally. They've got setups, which you could duplicate in your house for very cheap. My only issue with that is their sell-through rate is very low, and I don't know if it has anything to do with those photos. I do believe in being professional and being clean, but I believe in having something to make it stand out. So I think it's somewhere in the middle of those two. I don't think you want to be just a drab, plain black. I get it, they're focusing on the item, but I also don't think you want a big furry rug that takes away from your item either, because your item falls into it. So somewhere in the middle, which is what we're kind of trying to accomplish with our bamboo. It's plain, it's neutral, it doesn't take away, but that's what we are trying to get to. So
Yeah, I think Luke's going to go last. I'll answer in the middle. I agree with Casey's approach there. We do use flat lays just because we're taking a lot of pants, a lot of jeans, and it's just tricky to get them on and off a mannequin. But tagging into what he said, if you go to an online brand's website, like if you go to 7 for All Mankind and look at their jean shots, or you go to Diesel's, or anybody like that, Joe's Jeans, anybody's like that, or Buckle, you're going to see that yes, they have a model wearing it, but there's not all this stuff going on in the background. I mean, you're not trying to distract people. You're trying to get them to focus on the product. And if these multi-billion-dollar retailers have figured out that's the best way to take that photo, I'm going to believe them. I'm going to say that they probably know more about it than I do. They've gone down that road and realized it. So I think, if you're going to do a flat lay or mannequin, I think either one of those is fine. I think putting a lot of other items in the photo doesn't really make any sense to me. And you could even have the random person occasionally say, hey, you didn't send me that item. As dumb as that sounds, I mean, people do make that claim occasionally. Hey, I thought I was getting that too, even though that's all ridiculous. But I just think that you don't have to reinvent the wheel with your photos, guys. There are plenty of clothing retailers out there who figured out this photo process, and you can emulate them to some degree, and you should be able to emulate their success to some degree by doing so.
So I'm going to take a really interesting stance on this. It's not that I disagree with either of you. I just think differently about it. I think that what you're selling drastically depends on what background is best for you. And I think that sometimes niches determine what's popular. And so there are times where styling and adding background things sells a certain type of item better. Like, I'm fairly convinced of that. Just like having a simple plain background for suits, but adding a dress shirt with it. Like, I add a dress shirt underneath the blazer. It doesn't go with it, but I think it shows what the blazer or sport coat would look like on it. I think that each type of demographic you're selling to wants to view that item different and view the contrast. I also think, like Chris mentioned, the crayons and things like that. I think you also can pick specific props that may help you with color identification, which I think might be another reason for some of those things. I also, though, when you talk about best, you also have to talk about the time it takes to do it. So if it doesn't hinder your process to photo, then I think it's worth experimenting with. If it takes a ton more time, then I don't think it's good for you. So I know that was like a really on the fence answer, but I think that it drastically depends on what you're trying to stage. Like, I do mostly men's clothing, so clean, simple, one background, nothing else is perfect. Because I mean, I'm a guy, like, I know what I look at, I know what my eyes go to first, right? As a woman, I can't speak for women because I don't know what they look like style. Like, when Shannon's looking at stuff, I can't speak for what she's looking at first.
So you're grading the photos on niche and target customer. So that's good. That's really good.
Yeah. So that was a little rambly. Sorry.
No, not at all. I think that was, and again, you know, that just illustrates that we're all going to have a slightly different approach. And it's not a right or wrong always sometimes, but you have to take into account what you're selling, who you're selling it to, all those things. So absolutely. Well, listen, guys, I think we are at the top of the hour, right at the top. Man, that hour flew by. I don't know about you guys.
Yep.
But we've had well over 200 viewers for, you know, the majority of the shows. So thank you guys for that. Smash the like button if you wouldn't mind, and check out the shows of Casey and Luke and Chris. They're in the description. You guys thought it went well. I thought it went well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we're going to be back with more of these shows, guys. And you know, they're going to be this content-focused approach to these specific topics in reselling. So, you know, let us know in the comments and questions. Leave comments and questions for all four of us on this video. The next show we do, I'm not sure we've decided whose channel it's going to be on yet, guys, but it's going to be on someone else's channel, one of us four, and so we'll be over there. So it'll just kind of be introduced, you know, rotating around. And but leave us a question, you know, we'll be glad to answer it if we can. And I'll let you guys have a moment to say your piece out, I guess.
Yeah, I'll jump in, Casey. I'll let you finish this time, Casey, and be the last person. All right, you don't have to go first. So first of all, you know, thank you for everyone tuning in, and I hope this was a unique way to present the information. What I'm excited about is next week we'll be coming back at 8 o'clock. Correct, guys? Are we on that? Am I putting you guys on the spot for that? 8 o'clock Monday, and we're gonna dive into what we've been tracking in our business this week. Right? We're committing. We're holding each other accountable to tracking photos specifically and what that looks like time-wise. You know, a lot of different things, and we're going to dive really deep in that next week. And I think it's going to be really, really interesting content. And I'm going to plug for Nicole and for Chris right now. Chris is on Nicole State's channel. When you're done here, you know, feel free to jump over and watch those guys. Chris will keep talking all night, so if you want to listen to him, he's still available to listen to. Go ahead, Casey.
Hey, thanks, Luke. Yeah, appreciate Jason setting this up and Luke and Chris joining us. We have, like the guy said earlier, a lot in common, so it's going to make these easy for us to do for you guys. Like, we all do a lot of the same stuff, and we all have, you know, our individual outlooks on it, so you'll get the most information, your best bang for your buck, I would say. And I'm good for next Monday and every Monday, and I'm excited to do it. And trust me, behind the scenes, we are staying on top of each other to come up with the best information, so it'll be worth you checking out. Anyways, thanks a lot, guys, and yeah, can't wait for next Monday.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for tonight. So, hey, I'm Prof Sales saying good sales to you guys, and we'll catch you soon. Thanks, everyone.